Aloha everybody, my name is Vincent Mina, President of Hawaii Farmers Union United. And we're here at Maui Bees up in Kula, Maui today to share with you the great example of what a whole system of agriculture represents with animal production and food production.
Well, we started about 13 years ago, just growing a home garden. People started asking us if they could jump in on it, could they buy stuff from us, and we were more than happy to do that. And we just started doing our thing, and then we were quickly overwhelmed by how much work it was. So we started bringing in people, woofers, to help, and it just grew from there. We grew this all together. You can't do it by yourself.
Well, my inspiration was I would go to the Body and Soil conferences and leave so jazzed, and I want the good food. If it were possible to buy it, I would have bought it. But you have to grow it to have the prana, the mana, the life force in it. We're beekeepers, second generation beekeepers, and we love the bees. We love the chickens and the turkeys and the cows and the goats and the vegetables and the orchards, and you just quickly fill up 4 acres, and then you start going vertical with the farming and everything that you want to produce, and then you want a little flower, and so it just becomes in your blood and part of you.
Yeah, we initially started with bees. I had some bees on the island for a few years before we actually started the farm. We just split them, kept splitting them, increasing their numbers with an eye on just producing honey because everyone was asking for it. So we had a ready market. So we went from 11 hives to 44 to 88 to 160, and we're up to around 300 now. The farming went along with it, so it became all complementary, especially when we got the animals and we started getting the milk for production on the farm for our own consumption. And that was just the land of milk and honey. It was the best.
And this is Mr. Compost, so in a biodynamic system where you have everything going back to the soil, the cow is the major component. That's the back end of where you get your fertility.
Well, we make compost here by the ton. We do sell it as well, but we basically recycle it all back into the land. A lot of it goes under trees, a lot of it goes into the garden, and on the pastures. It's been a long learning process of how to do that properly and as quickly as possible, but it's all about nutrient cycling. And the other most important thing about the farm is the community that has created itself around the farm, meaning the outer community, the people that come here and support us, and also our workforce who are just amazing. Our staff are just incredible. And it's really taught me that agriculture doesn't live in a vacuum. It really requires the kind of human connection that is about stewardship. It fosters the stewardship and makes people care and love where they are and what they're doing. So when we started looking at how to lay the farm out, basically we asked the question. We'd go sit in the pasture and say, what do you want to be? Show us what to do, because we had no idea. And then we started looking at the lay of the land, and it just made sense that the orchards should go where it's not flat, and the pastures should go where it's flat, and obviously the gardens. It wasn't easy to figure it out because you had to figure out how big are the roads and how much room do you need to turn and all of these little components.
And then you figure out, what do you really want? What plants do you want? What trees do you want? What do you really, and there's no more space, but I really want this.
You get very excited about the project, you build it out, and then you realize, oh, that's too much. That's just, it doesn't work. And you start to form a holistic context.
And the land that we stand on, it has so much input, and it has so much connection, it has so much, it's like, no, we're not doing that, we're doing this. It's like, oh, okay.
In terms of cycling nutrients, we have about 200 layers, and we move those in movable coops so that the manures are spread pretty evenly across the land. Where we have the cows in a barnyard, where we do our milking, they're concentrated, so we get a lot of manures there, so we have to pick that up and bring it up and make compost with it. Otherwise, the animals they're naturally manure spreaders. and we just manage them so that they can spread it as effectively as possible. Whenever you farm something like this over and over again, there's really not much rest period because we're farming all year round. It's very easy to deplete the soils. So what you have to do is build the biology, and then the biology does the nutrient cycling. It's more important to have that system, the biological system that can take what nutrients are there and make them bioavailable, than it is to put a lot of stuff in the soil to make it rich. Basically what we do is do the cover cropping, which keeps the soil as alive as possible. We don't till. So we set up the cover crops, we cut them, we'll let them compost into the ground, and then we plant right into that.
So you have this amazing system of roots, and then out of the roots are these hairline roots, and out of the hairline roots are mycorrhizal and fungi and all these other supportive parts of the soil that you don't want to disturb, because if something in the soil says, oh, I need some of that, and there's some over there, they have a system to communicate and bring it over, and that's the magic of biodynamics.
A lot of times they'll start by tilling the soil just to break everything, and then you start putting cover crops in to bring the biology back that you just destroyed by tilling it. The other thing is when you till soil, you drive the carbon out of it. And the carbon is what creates the structure of the soil. So one of the great things about this method of farming is that it has a climate impact. It is sequestering long-term carbon and storing it in the soil where it actually does good. So when we're done growing a row crop, we will rake the wood chips off to the side and then spread this seed down, and we'll cover it with a white permeable cloth to keep the birds from eating the seed. It'll sprout and grow in, and then it grows up. Maybe in a month or so it'll be this tall, starts to flower. The bonus is we get some buckwheat honey for the bees, which is good. And then it's cut right at the bottom, close to the ground, lay it down. We cover it with this black cloth to finish it. It's called Solarizing. About 6 days or so, we pull it off, and then we just plant directly into that material that's now starting to be just a mulch. We've created a mulch from this. So what that does is we're allowing the carbon that these plants are capturing to be put close to the bacteria where the bacteria can pull it down into the ground. And at the same time, we're growing the next crop. That's how it works. So this is the farm fertility program, where we use animal manures, both chicken and cow. And we bring the cow manure up from the loafing areas. We bring 6 cans every week and mix them with wood shavings and pile it. You have to have at least 1 cubic meter to start the thermal process, build up enough heat. And once we pile this, we keep adding to it for several weeks until it gets to be quite a large pile. And this is a pile that was started about 6 months ago. And if you dig down in here, you'll see there's quite a bit of heat coming out of here. It's running about 130 degrees and breaking those wood chips down. So that's hot to the touch. And we like it to be hot because it's a very fast process then. We keep turning it with the tractor, and then it's finally moved to the sifting area, and that pile is about a year old. Here we have a pile that's been about a year old, and it's broken down really nicely. You can hardly see any wood in it at all. There is a little bit, some of the larger chunks. We run it through a trommel sifter, and the trommel sifter is homemade. It's made out of bicycle wheels with the spokes removed. Basically make a cage with 3 bicycle wheels and then mounted in a framework, and it runs on an electric drill. So it's probably 150 bucks all in all, and the thing works like a champ. So I'm gonna demonstrate that. So you can see how nice and fine that is. And then you can see the material that it rejected because it's too coarse. And this will just go right back into the compost piles and do another run. So then this we take and put it in our pile. And this is what we use for the seed starts. But before we use it for the seed starts, we mix it with coconut coir, and we use it EM1 biologicals to jumpstart it. So that then it's used in the seed starts. Each of those plants goes in with a little plug of biology, and it goes in with a little plug of compost. And that's how we do it.
So everything is an integral part of the system. The chickens are in mobile chicken coops, which move every week. They're on wheels, and you can see this is beautiful green grass that is going to be their salad bowl as soon as we move them. And this grass is all eaten down, and they've done a really great job of pooping everywhere and fertilizing the trees and fertilizing the grass. And that's just cyclical of how you get the nutrients through the chickens into the land.
So chickens eat grass. Many people don't understand how much grass they're capable of eating, but they get a lot of good omega oils out of the grass. And if you look on one side of the fence, you'll see the grass before they got to it. And on the other side of the grass where they are now, you can see they've been there for one day. And that's the amount of grass they've been eating in just one day. When we harvest these birds and we open their crops are full of grass. And that's not because they don't have other food to eat. They're given a free choice grains to keep up their egg laying. So it's their choice to eat the grass. So this is how we extract the honey. We'll bring in 1,000 pounds or so from the bee yards. And the frames are individually uncapped. This is an uncapping machine, and Dusty's going to show you. So the uncapper takes off most of it. Sometimes it misses some, like on the back side, and then that has to be hand done by Sarah. And after the cappings are removed, the frame can go in the extractor. We put 20 frames in each extractor, and then centrifugal force throws the honey out of the frame. Once the frames are empty, they get stacked up and put back on the bees, and the bees rob them all out, so there's no loss, no waste. And once the honey is collected, it's pumped across the ceiling into these storage tanks where we allow the wax to float to the surface. We don't use any heat to separate wax and honey. We don't use it. It's a cold process. And in 24 hours, all of the wax has gone to the surface, and then we can bottle it. This is the bottling machine. So this is a proportioner, which puts the same amount of honey in every jar. It's important to note that we don't use any heat in this process, because heat destroys the enzymes that the bees put into the honey to make it honey. And then after the honey is bottled, then we label it and put it into a cool storage area. Temperature controlled. We hold it at about 58 degrees. And when we're done harvesting, this room is completely full, ceiling to floor. We harvest about 25,000 pounds per year. So this is our outreach to the community. We offer this exhibit. We call it the Bee Museum, and we have 2 observation hives here. And we have school groups that come. We also do tours. And basically people can come in and just see what the inside of a beehive looks like. And you can also see some of the processes that the bees go through to make honey, in terms of communicating with each other, to tell other bees where the flowers are. And it's quite a fascinating process. This is the Maui Bees certified commercial kitchen. Right now these are apples that we actually grew on the farm. We're making one of the many products, either applesauce or apple pies or empanadas. A lot goes on in here during the day. We usually have at least 1 or 2 chefs working to produce food that goes out on the stand that's prepackaged. There's also bread baking that occurs in here at night. So we have a lot of fun in here. It's really good. Good camaraderie. We built this farm stand 2 years ago as sort of the crowning part of the farm in order to, legally interface with the public and sell product. It's been a great boon for sure. It's been a community gathering area. It's like a cafe. People come, they sit down, they get food, they can eat it here outside. So it's really kind of special. It's created its own thing.
We're off the beaten path, definitely off the main road. But people come, the honey is a big attractant. Right now it's pumpkin time of year. People can make pumpkin pies. And
we also have fermented foods like sauerkrauts. We also produce a kombucha-like drink, which is called jun. It's made with honey. Yeah. So we're trying to use as many products from the farm as we can. And it's been really a lot of fun. I love to see a lot of people out here enjoying themselves. And it was a monumental effort, believe me. It was really difficult to make it work. We opened the week that COVID hit, so it was kind of fun. But it was amazing because the community really loved it. They didn't have to go into the grocery stores, they could come and get their stuff here. So it was actually worked really well. We ended up hiring 2 or 3 different people, new employees, during that first year of COVID. So it was definitely a success in that regard.
On Thursday, there's a bee tour.
We do a bee tour where we dress people up in a bee suit and take them out to the beehives. And everybody's jazzed about that. And then we also do a regenerative agriculture tour where we do a little bit of education about soil biology. So both of those are really well received and they're a lot of fun.
For a very long time, we supported the farm. It's not cheap and it's quite expensive. And then finally, there was a tipping point where you just figure it out or something happens.
The farm started producing enough income. For one reason, we've improved the soil, and the other was we connected with the community over time. Yeah. So basically, there was brand recognition, and people really trusted that whatever came out of this farm was the highest quality that we could produce. So no matter what we would put out, it would sell. It was amazing. It was just magic. And then we built the commercial kitchen, and that created the platform for even more of a cash flow and being able to pay staff properly. I'd say the first 3, 4, 5 years, we were just putting money in. It's really about building the confidence with the community. And once the community really trusts you, it's a beautiful thing. You can really do some wonderful things.